Ntindi Kasim says,
we were able to rescue the baby elephant safely, and we reunited the baby elephant with her mother.
Cases of human-wildlife conflicts are on the rise in the parts of the country due to the ongoing drought. For Lunchtime News, I am Frederick Parsayo.
Let's now head to Kikambala in Kilifi, where the national primary essay writing competition is currently underway, and Education CS Professor George Magoha is currently addressing the congregation.
That do not make sense. Otherwise, the Almighty God sees through our clothes, and we are just human beings. The same goes for the children. Before the Almighty God, all children, not only in this country, but everywhere else, are the same. And the government of His Excellency Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, who thought that I had something to offer, gave me a task to ensure that all those children are equal. And if you have watched my footsteps as I walk around, I have never set foot on a school which, in my opinion, is able to do things better. Sijaenda kwa shule ya kifahari. You see me in the slums, because that's where my call is, to ensure that there is equity in education. And Mheshimiwa Balala and the leaders of Pwani Wells, I want to say this because it may be unknown to you and even to members of the Fourth Estate that in this continent, Kenya is not the richest country in this continent, and yet Kenya spends the highest amount of money in education in this continent, as far as the budget is concerned, and that is 25.9% of the budget already goes to education. So as you castigate government, remember that everything is being done to ensure, like Mheshimiwa Balala says, the only equalizer is education. If I was to stand these kids up and ask them what role their parents are doing in their education, they will have something to say. And so, as we move along, ladies and gentlemen, what Pwani Oils has done is transformative, and there is no reason why many other industries should not do the same. In fact, when I look back over 50 years ago, there used to be attachments for high school children from certain schools to industry. That is how come I became a doctor, because I volunteered to go and serve at Kenyatta National Hospital when I was in Form 2 and Form 3. That is competency-based curriculum for those who don't understand. And I am very glad to hear the leadership of this company saying that next year, by the way, next year, grade 6 is already going to be in competency-based bracket. And so it's like he has said grade 2, 3, or 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is going to be inside the competency-based curriculum. And Mheshimiwa Balala, why I am very happy about this, when you are briefing me in the small house, I've been told that you have already taught my children how to make soap and to write their names on the soap. That is competency-based curriculum, in case you don't know. You have already taken these children to a factory tour. Maybe one of them will become an industrialist as the child is getting to grow. So why don't you leave education for the educationists? which actually start from the parents at home. The parents at home are the greatest teachers of all time. Stop asking that parents must go to school, that must be literate. Who has told you they have to be literate? Do I look educated to you? Excuse me, please, my mother didn't go to school. Did I learn from her? Yes, I did. Did she take part in my work? Yes, she did. Over 50 years ago, Mheshimiwa Balala, we used to be told at school, bring some manure, whichever one you can lay your hands on. Any organic manure in your area. And we were happy to go and either look for the one for cow, some will come.
That is Education CS Professor George Magoha in Kikambala, Kilifi during the creative essay writing competition there, and he has reiterated that CBC is here to stay and the best form of education in the country, and also cautioning parents not to abdicate their duties as the first and the best teachers for their kids at home. And still on education matters, we are now crossing over here in the capital Nairobi, and of course today the University of Nairobi first year students are reporting and are currently registering. Wambiru, what is the current situation?
Back to its course. So as we move forward,
Wambiru, if you can hear me kindly, what is the latest?
We are joining you live from the University of Nairobi, where the student registration is currently ongoing. These are the freshmen coming in for the year 2021-2022 for the academic year. And remember that this comes even as the university has increased its fees, and that is the academic fees as well as the accommodation fees. And this has brought a lot of uproar, both from the parents as well as the students. And remember, out of this again, the student council of the university have also threatened they have also threatened to issue a strike right here, and that ought to have happened today, but so far we haven't been able to witness that. But what I can tell you is that security has been deployed at the university so as to ensure that order is attained, as well as so that to ensure that the registration process for the freshmen coming in is ongoing with just seamlessly. So now we're joined by the Director of Corporate Affairs at the University of Nairobi. His name is John Orindi, to help us understand what the process so far has been looking like and why there are changes. So welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Jackie, for the opportunity. What's going on right now is today we are receiving freshmen and women to the campus. Here where we have freshmen for the Faculty of Arts. We are registering freshmen across all our campuses. Like across we have Faculty of Engineering, the Faculty of Education are registering Kikuyu, Faculty of Law in Parklands. The process has been seamless, and we hope it will go on like this. We have given them a period between now and 4th for the parents to complete the registration process, pay their fees, ensure that the students get accommodation. Those who want to accommodation, those who want to stay home can stay home. Yeah. So
we've seen that you revised the fees structure for the academic year kicking off today, and maybe why the move?
I want to make something very clear. We have not increased the fees. We have revised fee guidelines for the students who are joining us now. The old students who had agreement with us before, the continuing students, they're going to pay the fees that they have been paying until they complete their education. They're also going to pay the accommodation fees that they have been paying, that we agreed with them at the beginning of their education programs until they complete their education. However, we have revised our fee guidelines in line with differentiated unit cost, where you cost the fees according to the cost of each program. So our fees have been aligned to DUC for both private, but the government-sponsored students, they still continue paying the minimum that they used to pay. Yes.
Would you say that the differentiated unit cost, what other effects has it caused to the university in your view?
Differentiated unit cost is a policy that was developed by the government. I think is sometimes in 2016. It's a model of funding where the government gives capitation to the university, support for the students in accordance with the cost for each program. So when you are talking about, say, medicine has got some unique cost that you cannot compare to Faculty of Arts. So you have, that's why they call it differentiated. So the medical, they maybe have laboratory cost, intensive course programs difference from the faculty. So you'll find that each program has got its own unique cost relating to the inputs that we put into the program. Yeah, so it was a policy that's developed by the government, accepted by the government in 2016, and that's what the government uses also to sponsor government-sponsored students, the ones that are coming under Module 1. That's the cost the government gives us for sponsoring the Module 1 students. Yeah.
So the Student Council has called for a mass demonstration across all campuses. Maybe tell us, what is the stand of the university on this?
I do not see any valid reason why the Student Council should be agitated to call for this demonstration, because we are in agreement with the students themselves that the students, continuing students, among them those members of the council, should continue the current fee structure that we had an agreement with them. There's no change in that kind of fee structure. They are going to pay the same accommodation fees that they were paying before. So I don't see any area where they have been affected, and they have no reason at all to disrupt the programs. Yes.
So don't you think that maybe this will deter some students maybe who may not afford the new revised fees? Maybe it will deter them from enrolling in the school?
The fees for government-sponsored students is not much. I think the parents, if they are paying the university, the secondary fees is almost the same to what they were paying in secondary school. So it's not something that's extraordinary. It is within manageable level that they used to pay when they were going to secondary school. But beyond that, the government-sponsored students, and even both private students, have opportunity to apply for support from HELP, Higher Education Loans Board, when they have experienced challenges. I'm aware that right now HELP have opened the portal and they are processing those applications for loans. So students are able to get loans where they have challenges to top up what the parents are paying. And then students who are registered with us, we have opportunities. Once the students registered here with us, we have other sponsorship or scholarships that we normally give at the University of Nairobi, but only if you are registered here, then you'll get opportunity, because they have conditions. Some of them you have to be disciplined academically. You also have to be excellent in terms of your performance. So we have various scholarships, one of them being the Chancellor's Rotansi scholarship. We also have the University of Nairobi Alumni Association scholarship. We have the Chinese Ambassador scholarship. We also Gandhi Saramak scholarship, and many other partners who continue to come here to support students. We also have Windled scholarship for students, international students, mostly refugees who also have come from a needy background. So there are opportunities. What the parents need to do is to ensure that the students are registered, pay the accommodation fees, because we have the linked accommodation with academics. Pay your accommodation fees, and we have given them between now. They still have time to go and clear their fees between now and 4th. The teaching and learning will start on 4th. But between now, the students are going to go through orientation process. They're also supposed to to go through the various departments, register for the subject that they want to undertake, and also learn about how to use technology in learning.
So you mentioned that maybe the deadline is on 4th. What happens to the parents? Because we've spoken to some of them and they're saying that they don't have the full fees and they just have maybe half of it. What happens to them? Do they go back? Or what happens to them? Are they locked out of the process?
I don't want to jump the gun. We are not yet at 4th. What we are telling the parents, they need to pay Then when it comes forth, then we can see when we reach there. But I want to encourage them to continue registering the students and make the deposit that they have. We always very flexible with the parents, but you cannot unilaterally say that you pay half or you pay.
Indeed, those are live pictures from the University of Nairobi, bearing in mind that today is when the new students are reporting, and there talks of a strike, but the university maintaining that all students will continue paying the fees that they have been paying till the completion of their course. So only the fresh students will be affected by the rise in fees, but they're saying that it's in line with all the government structures and in line with the inflation. Of course, Jackie will bring us a more comprehensive report on the same. Elsewhere, a section of residents of Wamoro village in Kiambu County have staged a demonstration to protest the closing of an access road by a businessman. Locals are lamenting that the individual is trying to claim ownership of a public land that was set aside during the colonial government for basic amenities.
According to the residents, they have been forced to use a longer route to access basic facilities for the last 7 months, and this has been a big challenge, especially to the school-going children.
Watu wanyagai wakikibiria pale hazi hapa hakuna pale tutakibiria. Kwa sababu pale mawe, pale bomba imepigwa. Na hii barabara imetoka mpaka zamani.
They now lament that this has negatively impacted on their lives, saying they have to pay more for services.
We felt that it is good that we express ourselves so that maybe our problem can be addressed.
The residents are urging the county government of Kiambu to intervene and stop the man from disenfranchising them.
Tumelia hatusikiki, tumejaribu kuenda kila wakati tunaambiwa sijui kuna nini. Kotoda ya mtu mmoja inafanya kijiji kizima kiteseke.
For Lunchtime News, my name is Jelis Aladi.
In other news, a Form 3 student at Sisenye Secondary School in Bunyala Sub-County, Busia County, has given birth to triplets. The 18-year-old gave birth at Busia County Hospital yesterday.
18-year-old Mary Julie could be the youngest mother of triplets in the country. The Form 3 student at Sisenye Secondary School in Bunyala Sub-County, Busia County, gave birth to triplets at Busia County Hospital. The father of the infant is also a Form 3 student at the same school.
Njue niko tu vile niko hivyo. Baba ya mtoto tunaweza sema baba ya mtoto ni katoto kingine tu kadogo na ni yatima, hana wazazi, hana baba wala mama.
Mary, who is an orphan, is under the care of her grandmother Ann Mbogo, who now says the new bundle of joy has overwhelmed her.
Kivyo nilipata hawa, siwezi sema ati ni wabaya, hiyo ni baraka kwa Mungu. Mungu ndiye alipeana. Sasa siwezi watupa.
Members of the Parliamentary Committee on Constituencies Development have called for allocation of more funds to the National Government Constituency Development Fund, NGCDF. The MPs say the current 137 million allocated to each constituency isn't enough to cater for security, education and youth projects under the CDF kitty.
The members of parliament say Constituency Development Fund has changed the lives of many Kenyans at the grassroots, especially in providing bursaries for needy students who could not have achieved their education goals without the financial support. The MPs, led by Matuga legislator Tendaza Kasim, spoke when they toured Gatanga constituency to invest construction of a police station at Kirwara and Gatura Assistant County Commissioner offices with funding from the CDF.
Kote ambako tumetembea vile miradi inafanyika ya CDF na hasa hapa Gatanga tuliopo tumeona mradi ambao kusema kweli umefanyika vizuri sana. Tungetaka nafikiri kamati yote ya bunge inampea mheshimiwa Ndwati kongole, shukrani ya vile ambavyo ameweza kuwa na wazo ya kutengeneza huu mradi, na fedha iliyotumika pia imetumika vizuri. Pengine hata utasema ilitumika kidogo kulinganisha na miradi mengine ya serikali huwa inafanyika.
Nyeri Chache MP Richard Nyagaka, also a member of the committee, castigated those who have moved to court seeking the abolition of CDF, saying it risks reversing gains realized over the years from the kitty.
Tembea Kenya yote, project nyingi tukiona shule, polisi na health center kapura itakuwa devolved, zimefanywa na CDF. Ikitolewa ipelekwe kwa county, hiyo ni kama pesa umepoteza, because county inapewa billions kadhaa na hakuna kitu wamefanya na hiyo pesa.
News.
Elsewhere, the United Green Movement now wants the government to revise the procurement scheme of fuel to ensure the free on-board prices paid are lower and to reduce the pump price. UGM leader Agostino Neto says the government should consider importing on-cost insurance freight, which would give responsibility to the supplier, who is likely to obtain lower maritime cost than the open tender system. Further, the United Green Movement is calling on the government to increase in storage capacity for buffer stocks.
You know, learning from international experience, it points out to the importance of establishing healthy and transparent competition in the petroleum sector. An effective and well-regulated competitive market imposes pressure on the various participants to improve efficiency in the petroleum sector. The first stage for this competition is the procurement of the fuel to be imported. The second possible source of competition is in the transport of the fuels from the port to the storage. The third stage for competition is in the refining of crude petroleum. The United Green Movement Party proposes that Kenya maintains a minimum of 3 months consumption as buffer or security stock to protect against possible supply interruptions and price instability. The stocks could be built up when the free on board and the cost insurance freight prices are low and only be used in exceptional circumstances. The stocks and the storage facilities would be funded by a small surcharge on the retail price. So as a political party, we're telling them that it is possible exploring ways, and that is the reason why the cost of fuel in Uganda is cheaper, because Uganda has an open and free tendering system for the fuel procurement.
At about 27 minutes past the hour, we are taking a quick short break. But when we come back, of course, we have more news, including business, not forgetting the sports of the day.
What do you need? There's a jewelry box in my cabinet. Yeah? Your service contract is in it. If anything happens...
It'll be a huge embarrassment if he took the wrong person to court. To avoid that, he must ask his maid to tell the magistrate that Mrs. Shu did...
Tell Miss Hong that she had diarrhea that day.
Tell Victoriano the price I set. Let's see if he's really in control of this like he says he is.
You are what you are now, thanks to Vicente's support. He did everything for the sake of our family, Eduardo.
Those Mendozas declared war on me years ago.
Welcome back. In case you just joined us, this is KBC Lunchtime News. Let's move on. A section of Mandera elders from the Asare family of the larger Gure community are converging in Banisa to pick a candidate for the Mandera gubernatorial contest. One of the front runners for the seat is Mohammed Aidan Khalif, Speaker of the Mandera County Assembly, in a race where clans embrace a negotiated democracy format in choosing leaders.
The 400 delegates comprising elders, professionals, business people, youth and the women folk are expected to pick a candidate from among the 4 individuals who have registered interest to be the family's choice in the coming elections. Asare is one of the 4 main Gure subclans of Ali, Adola, Asare and Frakesha. Ali and Adola together from Taf section, while Asare and Frakesha together from Kuranyoya section.
We're going to have a flag bearer for this sub-family of Gare community, and we'll take it to the next level, the Gare level and the other communities living in Mandera County.
The candidates include the Speaker of Mandera County Assembly, Mohammed Adan Khalif, Adan Haji Isaac, a businessman, and Ali Kiti, a banker. Education CAS Ms. Mumina Gallo Bonaya has also thrown her hat in the ring.
The candidates presented their credentials, they presented their programs to the community, and it is now the role of the community to decide out of the 4 who is going to be the flag bearer.
During the 3-day retreat, the delegates are expected to endorse a candidate who will then move to the next family level of the Kuranyoya, comprising both Asare and Frakesha subfamily, to seek for endorsement. Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
Now, police in Narok South have launched a manhunt for suspects believed to be destroying poles used to fence Mau Forest. Narok County Commissioner Evans Achoki confirmed that already they have arrested 4 suspects who have been arraigned in court.
4 people have so far been arrested and arraigned in court in connection with the destruction of poles used to fence the Mau Forest in Shajara and Katama areas of Narok South. Eric County Commissioner Evans Achoki is now calling on the Narok South residents to work closely with the authorities to expose the culprits behind the vice.
Na tumeongeza maofficers ambaye watashika doria. Jana nilikuwa huko kuzungumza na jamii hizo.
Sentiments echoed by local leaders who are urging the youth to avoid being misled by the politicians to oppose the project. Isufar reporting for Lunchtime News.
In business, Zimbabwean government is inviting agribusinesses and private players who depend on raw material imports from the agriculture sector to enter into production and marketing contracts with farmers to boost food security and create employment. Zimbabwe's Agricultural Marketing Authority says it has since registered farmers into production clusters whom contractors can utilize for the forthcoming cropping season. This and other stories from across the African continent.
Zimbabwe's Agricultural Marketing Authority aims to encourage local sourcing of raw materials and support growth of the agricultural sector, while also enabling contractors to ring-fence their production requirements. The Agricultural Marketing Authority has called on contractors to secure at least 40% of their annual raw material requirements through contracting growers, noting that contractors are required in the production of maize, soybean, sorghum, sunflower, sesame and cotton. The Zimbabwean government last year launched the Agriculture and Food Systems Transformation Strategy. Meanwhile, the number of new investment projects registered in Tanzania between March and August in 2021 rose to 133, worth about $2.98 billion. Tanzania's government chief spokesperson says the new investment projects registered by the Tanzania Investment Center are expected to create employment for 29,709 people. This is attributed to massive reforms being undertaken by the administration of President Samia Suluhu Hassan, aimed at making the investment environment more conducive. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic that has affected economies across the globe, Tanzania continued to register both local and foreign investments in agriculture, construction, and other sectors. Finally, rehabilitation work at Namibia's flagship Hosea Kutako International Airport will be completed this month, giving a new face to the country's tourism industry. Namibia Airports Company spokesperson said that the expansion at the main airport will modernize it to meet international standards set by other airports worldwide. The spokesperson says the airport expansion will also go a long way to spruce up the image of the country to all tourists at a time when arrivals have dwindled seriously owing to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Apple farming as their go-to activity to raise funds to supplement cash from the government. Moi University Council Chair Professor Humphrey Kimani Njuguna, who says the institution will engage in apple farming on 1,000 acres of land, notes that institutions of higher learning have to identify alternative income generation activities to help finance their programs.
Since 2015, the 35 public universities in Kenya have been facing financial challenges due to the collapse of the parallel programs that provide 50% of the budget of institutions of higher learning. Moi University Council Chair Professor Humphrey Kimani Njuguna says he does not foresee a situation where the Exchequer can finance 100% of the financial needs of the public institutions, hence the need for universities to identify and tap alternative income generating activities.
Moi University is pioneering apple farming. We are growing the Wabogo apple variety because our target is to grow about 1,000 acres, and 1 acre is supposed to give us about 79 million in 4 years' time on maturity.
We are also looking at the best ways to mobilize resources from willing partners, friends, and alumni of the university.
Professor Njuguna says the apple farming project has been pushed by the growing financial challenges the institution has been facing after shutting satellite campuses in Kericho, Nakuru, Kitale, and Yala. He says apart from generating income for the institution, apple farming will help address huge demands in the country.
In this workshop, we have come up with various ways that we can be able to get our university out of financial ICU, because our universities are in ICU, literally speaking. We have also agreed that we are going to revitalize our alumni association.
Moi University plans to set up a factory and engage in community empowerment activities by way of outgrowers in effort to have steady supply of the apples for value addition.
Alongside that, there will be the value chain, like a factory, setting up a factory, community empowerment and engagement by way of outgrowers, research into that variety from agricultural school.
Moi University officials estimate that the apple farming project will earn the university about 80 million shillings per acre in 4 years' time on maturity. Reporting for Lunchtime News, my name is Hibak Said.
Now, education stakeholders in Kisii County say many students in the region are opting to join technical training institutes over universities. Keroka Technical and Training Institute Principal Sami Cheruyot says this is due to the attractive nature of TVETs and the availability of jobs in the technical sector.
As students transition to institutions of higher learning, technical and vocational training appears to be attracting a huge turnover.
About the students who have chosen to join us at the TVET training, despite them having attained threshold grades to join university.
Keroka Technical and Training Institute Principal Sami Cheriot says many students are increasingly getting interested in technical courses, choosing TVETs instead of universities.
The main reason is that the TVET training, by virtue of courses, are marketable or market driven, and therefore they can easily secure job placement faster soon upon the completion of their courses.
Over 800 new students have been enrolled at Keroka Technical and Training Institute this year.
Further afield, Chinese real estate developer company EVERGRANDE is struggling to meet the interest payments on its debts as company's share fell by 15% in Hong Kong trade. EVERGRANDE grew to be one of China's biggest companies by borrowing more than $300 billion. Here are the details of this and other stories from across the globe.
China last year brought in new rules to control the amount owed by big real estate developers. The new measures led EVERGRANDE Real Estate to offer its properties at major discounts to ensure money was coming in to keep the business afloat. Now, EVERGRANDE, that has 1,300 projects in 280 Chinese cities, is struggling to meet the interest payments on its debts and has started to repay investors in its wealth management business with the property. Major banks have reportedly been told that they won't receive interest payments on loans that are due, while interest payments of $84 million on the firm's bonds are also due on Thursday. Meanwhile, farms in the UK are struggling to stay afloat amid surging gas prices. The government is considering offering emergency state-backed loans to energy companies. Smaller suppliers face ruin as price hikes have made their price promises to customers undeliverable. The loans are expected to be offered to encourage farms to take on customers. Wholesale gas prices have risen by 250% since January after a cold winter put pressure on Europe's supplies, running down levels of stored gas. Increased competition for liquefied natural gas, particularly from countries in Asia which also experienced cold weather, has added to the pressure on prices. Finally, Microsoft will introduce a passwordless account as a solution for the familiar problem of needing to remember too many passwords. Instead of passwords, Microsoft will let users sign into these services with either the company's Authenticator app, which produces a unique number login code every few seconds, or with Windows Hello, which lets users sign in using facial recognition, a fingerprint, or a unique PIN. Microsoft users can also buy an external security key like a USB drive with the login information stored on it, or register a phone number to which Microsoft sends a verification code. This change comes amid a spike in cyber attacks over the past year.
In sports, Kenya's quest for a record 10th African title was put on hold Sunday night after losing by 3-1 against defending champions Cameroon at the Kigali Arena in Rwanda.
Malkia striker lost by straight set to the Central Africans and were unable to redeem themselves in the final despite forcing the game to a fourth set. Malkia strikers had lost 25-21 and 25-23 in the first two sets before rallying for a 25-15 win in the third set. However, they could not complete the comeback as they fell short in the fourth set, losing 25-23. Sharon Chepchumba, the best attacker in the tournament, scored a game-high 21 points with 4 aces, but her contribution wasn't enough for the Paul Bitox girls. Kenyans Esther Ekaru and Massimo Imu were named the best blocker and best receiver respectively. Daniel Mwendwa, Sport.
The Kenya national rugby sevens team Shujaa finished second at the Vancouver Sevens, winning a silver medal as they went down 5-38 to South